Hello, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, some glitch when I am logging in with my AirPods on. It's it starts talking gibberish. I don't understand why, but we should complain to Apple.
Can we complain to Putin?
You know, if it would be Elon Musk, I would say that maybe yes, maybe then we should write to Putin. But with Apple, no. I think
Okay, fair enough.
they're kosher.
All right. So I want to ask you a couple of things quickly about events today, and then I want to get back to what we were talking about yesterday, which is the origins of the Congress coming up. Is there anything you want to say about Putin's speech?
you know, uh, to my mind, it was pretty boring. But what is interesting is that he is moving more and more to the rhetorics that was typical for anti-globalist movement. For all the criticism of neoliberalism and liberal globalization and multiculturalism and these sort of things. So in his arsenal, traditionally, it was more right conservative rhetorics.
Mhm.
And people who he was usually citing, they were right wing thinkers. But it's already, I would say, like 2-3 months when he's using more and more left wing arsenal and terms when he's speaking. Obviously, this guy is neither left nor right. He doesn't have any views. He is just a kleptocrat. But it's interesting because I think that he kind of starts to understand that this mm, uh, straightforward, plain vanilla right wing conservatism is not selling anymore because it's not his agenda.
Mm.
And what he wants to do is he wants to unite people who were traditionally anti-imperialist, and he wants to mobilize people against the United States uh, using this rhetorics and these terms. And that's why I was really sorry when I heard about this letter by left progressives in the states, which was kind of revoked and canceled and like whatever. But it was genuine, so it was written, and the very fact that it was written speaks a lot about the general mood and ideas that are circling in this particular part of political spectrum in the United States, and I would say it's pretty much the same in other parts of the world. And me being myself from this part of the political spectrum, I really feel sorry because people, I think, totally confuse their core values.
Yeah, and I was trying to pull up for some reason I'm not getting it. This was the political caucus from the U.S. Democratic something political caucus that
Progressive caucus.
progressive
That
caucus.
was progressive caucus. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Arcadia Cortez and this type of people.
Yeah. And so in the US we have an expression that I think you're sort of describing with Putin himself. He doesn't believe in anything. He's just looking for whatever will work. In the US we have an expression that's a little crude, but I'll throw enough shit on the wall, maybe something will stick. It kind of
Yeah,
feels like he's throwing shit on the wall.
that's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. That's a very shitty and lousy ideas. Um, mm, and the very problem with them is actually a lot of things that he is saying in general, they kind of fair. But the framing and the overarching idea that inspires him to say these words is totally fake.
Mhm.
And that's why, if you throw a piece of shit in the barrel of honey, it would be a barrel of shit.
Yes.
And that's exactly what's happening with what he is saying.
Yeah. All right. So let's leave that there for today. Do you want to say anything about the TV host? And I'm not going to be able to pronounce her name right, but it's like Ksenia Sobchak, who
Uh,
the if you don't know what I'm talking about, everybody, just go Google Russian TV host with an Israeli passport. But what are your thoughts on what happened there?
you know, what actually happened there, to my mind, uh, is a cat fight between two female celebrities.
Hmm.
Uh, there is one quite well-known person in Russia. She is Georgian. Her name is Tina Kandilaki. And she is also the same type, media celebrity. And uh, for you to get an idea, Ksenia Sobchak is a kind of Paris Hilton personality,
Hmm.
and Tina Kandilaki is like Kim Kardashian.
But
Uh,
Sobchak actually ran for president, right?
yeah, that happened. But she's a media animal, so
Okay.
she likes hype.
Mhm.
And, when the protest started in 2011, she immediately started dating with one of prominent Russian political activists,
Mm.
just to get inside
Yeah.
the movement and to collect the hype.
Mm.
In the TV, she's doing a very, very provocative interviews. In general, she is as a socialite. She likes to provoke people. She deliberately provokes people.
Mm.
She became famous in Russia for being a host of in the reality show, which was extremely cynical. Is about people seducing each other, and it's a symbol in Russia of a bad taste on the TV. It's like when everybody says "dom," that's the name of the reality show, been translated as the house. When they're saying this, all Russians, we hate it. But
Just watch it. Now they hate it,
yeah,
but
but
they watch it.
they hate it, but they watch it. Yes, and it made her rich and popular.
Mm.
So that's the type of personality. And Tina is a little bit more, I would say, balanced person. I would say Ksenia is very smart, but
Mm.
she's extremely cynical, but very smart. Tina, and she is like moderately opposition leaning, but she is also relative to Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is her godfather,
Yes.
and she is the daughter of former Vladimir Putin's boss, Anatoly Sobchak, the mayor of St. Petersburg. And her former personal bodyguard right now is the chief of National Guard of Russia, and the closest ally of Ramzan Kadyrov, and one of key people in the security establishment for Vladimir Putin. Like, yes, she is very connected to Vladimir Putin, but her views, because again, her audience is more towards opposition, so she likes to speak moderately, opposition, but also, very cynical statements, and that's exactly how she ran for the president.
In
And
some ways, let me just cut it for a sec. In some ways, you're describing her exactly the way you just described Putin as just being completely opportunistic with their views.
exactly, she is exactly the same personality.
Mhm.
That's that, but that's overwhelming majority of Russian elites. They're exactly that way.
Okay.
They cultivate this. They proud that they have no ideas. That they ideophobic. Tina is a different personality. She is the CEO of one of the most visible Russian TV sports networks, like ESPN, like Russian version of ESPN. And she is pro-Putin, clearly, but moderately, so she is not radical Putinist, but she's kind of more pro Putin openly, and she is married to vice president of Rostechnology. That's a major Russian military industrial producer.
Hmm.
And what actually happened is boss of Kandelaki's husband, Sergei Chemezov, also close ally to Putin, one of his inner circle, has written to the police that Sobchak's editor-in-chief is blackmailing him for publicizing black PR statements in their media. And in Russia right now, because everybody is so much afraid of publishing just anything, so it's a lot of like self censorship thing. So it's way more popular to collect money not for publishing something, but for not publishing something. They all like, all these remaining journalists, they're collecting money from powerful people that if you pay as a certain retainer, we will say nothing about you.
So it's a form of blackmail using
It's a form, yeah, it's a form of a blackmail. But ironically, usually people pay for the PR,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
in this case, people are
Anti-PR.
paying- yeah, so like, nobody is speaking about them, because right now in Russia, being a public person is a dangerous thing. It's
Yeah.
a dangerous thing. So, and they were proposing to Sergei Chemezov to pay them a whopping $150,000 US as a annual retainer to not say anything about himself and Rostechnology. And Kandelaki knew about it, and they decided to write it to the police. And when this editor-in-chief came to collect the money, they actually seized him when he was taking the money from Chemezov's people. And so he was thrown to jail, and Sobchak immediately evaporated and left Russia, and also made it in a very cynical way because she, again, be a very moderate opposition person, and many people take her as a kind of a Trojan horse within the opposition. So she was very actively criticizing oppositionists for leaving Russia, and she was doing it in a very nasty way. And she was saying, while all those cowards, useless people, these idiots and jerks are now competing to get Israeli passports, I myself, standing here on the bank of this river, and she was showing a Moscow river, who looks nothing like Jordan River. And I'm sitting here in a very nice restaurant, which looks nothing like those lousy Israeli restaurants. Because I am never getting an Israeli passport. I'm so much happy with my Russian passport. And when she was crossing the border right now, so she left Russia on the Russian passport, but she entered Europe on the Israeli passport, which she made exactly in the same month when she was criticizing others for getting Israeli passports. And so it was so hypocritical. That's why, yes, you call social networks in Russia totally exploded what a bitch she is. you know.
Well, and I have to say it's a lot more of a story than I was expecting, frankly.
Sorry, I think otherwise it will not be clear, what the buzz is all about. But yeah, it's like it's a cat fight between Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian.
I I was expecting more of a freedom fighter fleeing for her life after making, critical reporting on Putin. And, frankly, what you gave us was pretty damn good. So I'm not disappointed. All right. There were two things I was going to ask you about today.
Yeah, there is a question. Where is my family? Almost all of my family left Russia when they stayed for a very long time. I'm very lucky that absolutely no members of my family, even distant relatives, are pro-war. They all are anti-war. But obviously, everybody who has my last name, we had to evacuate them at the beginning of the invasion in March.
Hmm, hmm. And we're not going to talk about where they are, uh, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, they are safe. Yes.
Yeah. So, yesterday we were talking and you got cut off. There were two things you said that I want to follow up on. One I'm going to save for tomorrow. But we were talking about the sort of the origins of the People's Congress that's coming up on November 4th. And by the way, if you missed this, you can find out more about it at rusdep.org, and I will put a link in the chat box before we're done here today. But we were talking about the origins of the Congress, and I was asking you, where did this idea come from? And you gave us a great explanation, and it's archived on the show page, so you can go see it there if you missed it. But then you started talking about that there's competition. And I think where you were going was that, you're not the only one who's thinking about the future of Russia. But I think where you were going was that, your group has a relationship with the military to enforce the legitimacy of the group that's different than others who might be thinking they could also be leaders of a free Russia. Am I setting that up right?
Yeah, probably because frankly speaking, I don't remember what my idea was. I am recent 3 weeks because of the preparation of the Congress. I am literally sleeping, 2, 3 hours a day, and that's why people things start to slip out of my
Sure.
mind completely. So I don't remember what we were speaking about precisely. But I think that where I was heading to is that we are not just about talking, and we already have military arm in Ukraine. So that's we're trying to create a full ladder of alternative power structures to the modern day Putinist Russia. And obviously, at the cradle, at the center, is this transitional parliament, which is being created. But this transitional parliament needs to create a transitional administration, which would be like the executive branch.
Yes.
And obviously, it would be supported by Russian military. By Russian military, I mean, um, Russians military which are fighting in Ukraine. That's what I want to say. So not Russian, but Russians military which are fighting in Ukraine alongside with Ukrainian army against Putin. And obviously the partisan network in Russia. But it's really that we are about action. So we want our decisions at the end of the day to be enforced. And again, we would not be just sitting and waiting for the Ukrainians to liberate our country.
Yeah. All right. So we said this show was going to last 5 or 10 minutes. We've gone a little longer than that because we had a good story about a cat fight. That's always worth, a little extra time. We'll follow up tomorrow. Thanks for being here, Ilya. I'm going to keep talking a little bit, but I'm going to let you go and let you get back to your work on the Congress.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. And thanks, Simon, very much to you. Thank you.